Guys, I have a bit of a secret that, I was planning on unveiling a lot later. So I've wanted to do a lot of things, make animations for cartoons, write stories, learn music, and all of that is a big scheme because there's something that I really, really, really want to make, and it's a video game. I've been wanting to make a video game for quite a few years, so I've learned like little things here and there. Not nearly enough to make a video game. For me, at this rate, especially with the amount of money I have, it'll probably take like maybe 5-10 years in the future before I can actually make the game I want. But I'm really passionate about it, and I want it to be the absolute best it can be. And hopefully, some of you viewers at some point will get to try the game. I wish I could start development way earlier, but I can't. But one thing we can do, guys, is we can watch little videos like these that tell us things and hopefully tell you things about game development if you don't know anything already. And yeah, it's super duper cool. I'm not going to unveil anything about the game, so don't ask me any questions about it until I'm actually making it. Anyway, start off here. She has a beginner video here on how to make games. It's made by Juniper Devs. You guys can go ahead and subscribe to her. Let's check it out.
Everything in every game is a choice, an intentional decision made by some developer or some designer that you probably don't think twice about. The speed that dialogue shows up on screen, the positioning of respawn points, whether the camera is static or whether it follows the player. Think about all the sound effects that create an environment. As someone who has the ability to make a video game, all you're doing is making choices. And now that you've chosen to explore game development, or you're at least a little bit curious, the first choice that you'll need to make is deciding what engine or software you're going to use to make this game. This is the place you'll probably code in, lay out your levels, assemble all the nuggets of your game in. It's not just a tool or a medium, but it's a skill you're going to get better at over time. Chances are you'll end up trying a lot of different things, but I'm going to give you a rundown of your options. You can either make your game through a game engine, which is a software dedicated to game development, or you can use what would be referred to as an IDE. Now, a game engine might have things that are built in for game development, So
I'm guessing this is like Unreal. So I have a few things like Unreal Engine, like their game development software. I have like, well, you guys know what I have now. I have like Asaprite for making sprite animation. What else? I have a RPG Game Maker. There's literally like a game maker on Steam where you can make games, and honestly, I am gonna use it. I will make you guys some smaller games before I eventually make a big one, because I think that's probably a good idea. But just little RPG game maker stuff to work on storyboarding and scripts and all that fun stuff. And yeah.
Physics system or templates, but it also might have more limitations.
Trying to see if I recognize any of this.
Code, there are no limits,
oh god,
but there's also nothing to hold your hand. So if you're
coding is scaring the shit out of me, by the way, guys. It's scaring the shit out of me. The coding and also the art. I am not an artist, so it's very scary.
If you are confident in coding, you can use virtually any text editor and just raw code your game. That is how a lot of popular indie titles have been made. But for 80% of people probably watching this video, you're going to want to use a game engine. So I'll go ahead and give you all the options for your game engines in hopefully, maybe under 60 seconds. Ready? Yeah.
Yeah, Unity. That's what
This is arguably the most popular engine out there. It's good for 2D or 3D games, and you'll be coding primarily in C#. It's a bit overwhelming in my opinion. It definitely has that professional vibe to it, but it's a very powerful tool, maybe one to learn eventually, but not start with.
Game Maker, yeah.
This one's my personal favorite. It's what I started out with because it's fairly uncomplicated. All your code will immediately connect to game objects for you. You'd be making a 2D game in GML, which is basically like if JavaScript and C++ had a baby.
RPG Maker, that's me.
Considered a typical RPG, so turn-based combat, lots of dialogue. This has all of that built in, so you wouldn't really have to code a lot if you're just wanting those basic systems. But if you have any unique mechanics, you will be coding in either Ruby or JavaScript depending on the version.
Oh, that's gonna be interesting.
A visual novel. Use this.
So I'll tell you guys right now, we will be making a game. It's a turn-based game, and basically, I've always wanted to make a turn-based game where instead of just standard turns that you have, where you're waiting for the enemy, And I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, what would you do to make a turn-based game really interesting? I mean, I don't even have to make this. If somebody else wants to, you know, cool. But for me, I like the idea that your turn-based turn, like you have an amount of time. You see everything on the battlefield, you see what you're gonna do, and then as soon as you reach a point, like maybe like 5, 10 seconds or whatever, the turn just goes to the next person. So you have like a limited amount of time to make very strategic options. And I think what would be fun about a game like that is it keeps the strategy like very fast. You have to constantly think of what to do next. Hopefully a kind of game where you can make a lot of decisions in, and that will keep, that'll keep difficulty interesting. And of course, like maybe if you increase difficulty, maybe there's less time to make decisions. And hopefully if you're smiling, or if you're thinking, oh, that sounds kind of neat, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like for an RPG now, because I looked at what's it called again? There's no way I'm freaking forgetting. There's no way I'm forgetting. Okay, so first of all, Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate's a freaking dope game. But no, there's that. Oh man, you guys are gonna Claire Obscure. You guys are gonna kill me. Claire Obscure, and how it took that kind of Paper Mario style of RPG and it made it really neat. I was thinking, okay, well, what else can we do in the turn-based genre? And I haven't really seen many games use that timing mechanic of you have this much time to make your choice. And I think that can really be expanded upon. So again, if you're somebody there who makes games, make something. And if there is a game like that already out, let me know. I'd love to check that out too. I'll play it on the channel.
A lot too. It uses what's called a node system, so it's a little quirky. I've always found it to be a little more complicated than it probably should be, but a lot of people use it, and a lot of people are migrating from Unity to Godot, especially for game jams. So it's worth playing around with it, seeing if you like it.
Man.
This one is the industry
Unreal
standard
Engine.
for anything 3D graphically intensive. If you're doing any heavy rendering and graphical stuff, this can handle it, and you'll probably be using C++.
A hint about the game that I'm making, by the way. I'm not going to be using Unreal Engine. I don't need 3D stuff. The big game, anyways.
When you're first learning to make games, you don't have to commit to any of those. Sure, you do have to invest some time to really get a feel for things and make something, but you will have all the time in the world to experiment, figure out what works for you. I have tried literally every game engine under the sun by now, so you'll be good. So now that you've got your engine, you essentially have the brick and the beef behind what's going to power your game. But how are you going to learn to code? How are you going to learn this engine? And how are you going to ultimately make that game?
Yeah.
You're probably going to gravitate towards following a tutorial online, which isn't bad, but it can be very easy to fall into what's called tutorial hell. This is when you follow so many tutorials and you copy down so much code, you trick your noggin into thinking that you learned how to code, but then when you go and open an empty project, you don't know what to do. When you follow a tutorial, you gain familiarity with what programming or using your game engine is like, but you don't really do that actively unless you put in some extra steps. So every line of code you copy down, think to yourself, do I understand what this is doing? What this variable is now storing, or what this built-in function is doing? And if you don't, that's when you go online and you're going to find what's called the documentation. Every game engine and every programming language has its very own documentation. This is basically a big document that talks about how code works and how to use it, kind of like a manual for programming or just learning how to navigate an engine. You're going to want to find this, bookmark it, kiss it on the lips, because it's going to be very useful. It's all.
So, guys, I cannot stress what she's saying. Like, if you're watching this and you think you can skip steps, listen to what she's saying. Because I think a year ago, I was fiddling around with a game engine and I was trying to make something. And I was making a story and whatever. And I was trying to make an adjustment in the game engine to make it do something kind of cool. And oh my goodness, guys, I spent like days, and I had seen an effect done in the game engine. And I messaged this guy on his YouTube channel, found his email, went to his Discord, only to figure out that the version of game engine I was running could not do what I was trying to do. So yes, do this.
Also theoretically possible to learn game development from the documentation alone, because that's how useful it is. I've taught myself basically everything that I know from tutorials, but that's because I forced myself to not go on autopilot after a certain point and just tell myself I understood things that I didn't. Follow tutorials enough to understand some of the fundamentals of programming or just the way to navigate your engine, but after a certain point, you do have to take that plunge into just trying on your own. And at that point, it's okay if you have to look back at your old code or Google some stuff. You can also start learning game development by teaching yourself introductory programming. There's always courses online where you can do that, or if you're in school, definitely check out if there's a class offered for it. I took my first coding class my sophomore year of high school, and now I'm a computer science major. That has done me wonders for understanding the logic of how systems in my game interact, what connects to what, knowing the options for how I could code something or just the best way to do it. Coding is the backbone of game development because at the end of the day, it is development. A lot of people get into game development because they like to play games, which, you know, makes sense. I think that does check out. But if you don't really like logic puzzles, thinking critically, problem solving, it will be more of a struggle to get into. I myself am not a math person. I have never been. I do not like it at all. But I did kind of have to retrain my brain into enjoying some of that stuff. At the end of the day, I think the results from making a game and coding is so great that it makes it all worth it, even if I don't love every step of the process.
And that's something else that people need to realize with anything you want to do. Like, I've always wanted to make YouTube videos. I always wanted to be a YouTuber. There's so much shit that I'm having to learn and having to do in terms of learning video editing software, audio, and all this. It was super difficult. And now I'm at the point where I'm able to enjoy it because I know there's certain processes I don't like, and there's certain things I do like. Like, I like being able to talk to you guys every now and then. I like making videos that make me laugh, and I want to keep doing that and keep getting better at it. And that's become the motivation. With game development, when I first tried to do it a while ago, man, it was the same thing as she's saying. Such a huge struggle for me because I have no idea how to code. I'm not a computer science major at all. But, you know, that's not going to stop me from making what I want to make because it's been a dream that I've held on to for so long. And I just can't envision myself not making it now. So I don't even know. It may be tricking your brain is the right way to say it. But guys, when you find something out and you're learning something and you're going through the process, it's so interesting. It takes time. It's going to take your time. You're going to run into frustration. You're going to run into not having the right lines of code. You're going to have to redo shit. You might lose files. All kinds of crazy shit can happen in your projects. But it's learning these things eventually that make you more and more competent. And to be honest, I'm pretty excited for that, as difficult as I know it's going to be for me when I'm going along this journey.
But do know it is really important to understand the logic of programming, and a lot of the tutorials that you will follow will emphasize that. Who are you? Allow me to introduce you to Carson, my new C7M chair from today's sponsor, LexaSpot. Being at a computer all day,
all right, she's got a sick sponsor. I apologize, lady, but we are going to skip.
Can stay comfortable.
It's a cool chair, guys. I think.
Where was I? Oh yeah, if you're more of an artistic little duck like I am, the good news is that in this day and age, there are so many resources online to do it yourself if you want to. So let's look at the choice here fundamentally. Why choose to make your own art for your game, or why choose not to? If your goal is to develop a fun game one day, one that's on Steam, other people will play, understand that time spent learning art is time spent taken away from coding and actual development. Art is its own wormhole of a skill, and it's very rewarding. It's my favorite part of the entire process. But it is a finishing touch that's very often mistaken to be a fundamental step in the process. Art can be edited or added into a game whenever you want to, if that game exists, which means learning the engine and actually making that game should probably take priority, especially if you're like me and you tend to get carried away by the more creative stuff and suddenly you have an entire sprite sheet made for a game that doesn't exist yet. What? So when you're first learning to make games, I would strongly recommend finding free assets out there so you can focus on the actual development process and see if you like it. Most major engines out there have their own asset store where you can search by free 2D, 3D, pixel art, and if you're following a tutorial...
You guys let me know if this is a good idea. When I'm making my game, my plan was I wanted to release a demo and with just 2 characters in it that are usable. Okay, that's a little bit of a hint, but anyway, 2 characters in it that you can use. And I don't know if I can't make, I'm not an artist. So what she's saying makes sense. I want to have art as a placeholder and then kind of from there, like have someone help me create the art style that I'm looking for. Cause I don't even fully know, but I know that it needs to be good. Like it needs to be amazing art. I don't want to have like half-assed animation, you know? Well, that can have its own charm, but
Most good ones will have assets linked in the description, so hopefully you don't have to put too much brain power into learning art when you're first starting out. But with that being said, if you do want to try and learn how to do art, I will point you in the right direction. When it comes to pixel art, that direction is a
Hey,
software called Pixelart.
surprise!
It does cost $20, but it is fantastic for not
It's
just
on Steam. Go and get it. If you want to make a pixel game, go and get it. Okay?
pixel
It's
art,
good.
but applying game design elements to that pixel art. It's super easy to make animations and export them as sprite sheets, make symmetrical tile sets, all that stuff. I've been using it for a really long time now. I think it's fantastic. If you're looking for a free alternative, Piskel is a web-based engine that kinda does the same thing. It's a website, it's free, so it's definitely a lot more limited. But if you're just trying to see if you actually like pixel art, you can always start there. Photoshop is also used pretty commonly because all you have to do is just set up a grid. So if you already pay Adobe the small price of your soul every month, you can just keep doing that. When it comes
Holy.
to non-pixel art, my understanding is that virtually any digital drawing app can be used. Procreate is a really common one on mobile, but otherwise there's GIMP and Krita on PC.
Okay, thank
If you
God.
have never done art before and you want to make art for your game, pixel art is the path of least resistance. I wouldn't say it's outright easier, I don't know if that's true, but there are a lot less things on average to worry about. Don't get me wrong, you still have to worry about proportions, perspective, stylization, composition, color theory. But with pixel art, you're usually working in smaller resolutions, so it's a little less scary. You don't really have to worry about the precision of lines or shading as much. Overall, I'd say there's less of a learning curve than traditional art, but
So I really do like that she's decided to go and learn this, even though she doesn't really have to for making her game. Because I want to spearhead, and maybe if you're making your project, maybe you want to spearhead making your own game. I really, really think it's important if you're somebody leading a project that you know how hard it is to do each part of a project. You have to know all. I think it's good to know all of these things so you can be very respectful of your team, both in how much they're getting paid and what it really takes to do what they need. Like, you need to know their needs, right? And putting yourself through the ringer and learning all these things, whether it be the music, the sound design, the art, all the extra stuff around your game, I think it is very important. And I'm not saying that you can't make an amazing game if you don't know all of these things. I'm not saying you have to be a master of all of them. In fact, there's maybe the majority of the games are made that way. It's just, in my opinion, I think that I have a lot more compassion and understanding for a team that I work with, and hopefully that me showing them that I care lets them know that, okay, like, this guy's got my back. They're going to hopefully support me make what I want to make even better because, they know I have that understanding, right? So that's my personal take on it. It's not the sole reason for me wanting to learn these things. I just think it's kind of cool. But yeah, why not,
You can fight me on that if you want to. So if you do go that route, you should also check out this website called LowSpec. It's a website that's filled with color palettes specifically for pixel art. There is no reason to try and teach yourself color theory when you're first getting the basics. Having an existing palette means that you don't have to worry about color and you can focus more on shapes and lines and just the fundamentals. So on LowSpec, you can find a small palette that has just a few shades of every color, and your art will look a lot better. To this day, I only ever use existing palettes because it's just one less thing that I have to worry about. Now, I'll say the same thing about music and sound design that I said about art. You shouldn't really worry
I'm a
about it
prophet.
when you're first starting out. There's not really a reason to.
I'm a prophet. Hey, I'm a musician, guys. I already got a little bit under my belt.
If you want to, there is this thing called Beatbox, Beepbox. All you have to do is just choose your instruments, kind of click around, maybe understand a little bit of music theory.
What is this? That's it. Oh, that's pretty funny.
So that's Beatbox. LMMS is
Not
another
bad,
more
though.
professional looking one out there. It's more similar to something like FL Studio, which is what the industry standard is for making actual music. But again, just like art, there's plenty of assets
What is
out
that?
there where you can
Wait, what are you? I've never heard of
It's
this.
more similar to something like Box. LMMS is another
LMMS?
professional-looking one out there. It's more similar to something like FL Studio, which is what the industry standard is for making actual music. But again, just like
I'm gonna have to
there's
check that
plenty
out.
of asset stores out there where you can just import music, import sounds, and you don't have to worry about it until you have to. By now, I hope you
So
realize-
guys, two other music software that you can use. Cakewalk is a pretty decent one I heard that people use. And also there's a Magic's Music Maker, which just kind of lets you have a music studio to practice putting music pieces together. So those are my personal recommendations, but I'm gonna check out LMMS. I'm not into Cubase, guys. I don't like it. I don't want it.
How much goes into making a game, and you will have to keep that information organized. Chances are that you have a description for your game written out, either in your Notes app or a Google Doc.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
As the idea expands in complexity, you're going to probably want something dedicated to organization. I've used Microsoft OneNote to organize a good amount of my stuff. It's basically like Google Docs, but you organize everything into books, and then those books have chapters, and those chapters have pages. So for example,
I should use
I'd have a book for my game, and then in that book, I'd have a chapter for world building. And then in that world building chapter, I'd have a page for biomes, a page for characters. Fun fact, right now that's how I manage all my content stuff. So I have a chapter for scripts that I need to do, and then another chapter for scripts I don't really know what to do. In those chapters, I have pages for all the scripts individually.
Oh, I need to use this.
What I do.
I need to use this.
Free that's not a part of the Microsoft bubble. There's Notion, Trello, or ClickUp, which I've used a lot before. One thing I will recommend is that in whatever organization app you do choose, you keep track of your progress. See, every day that I worked on this one project, I would go to my OneNote and write down for that day everything that I did. Oh, I watched a video in C#, or I finished this frame of this animation. That way, when a month went by and I didn't really have anything tangible to show for my game, I still felt like I did something. A lot in game development happens behind the scenes, and it doesn't necessarily have a direct output into your game. So if you don't keep track of that stuff when you're first starting, it can be hard to stay motivated. But just because you're—
Hey, yo, shout out my workout every day challenge, though. A shout out to that.
Or your learning isn't visible doesn't mean that it isn't progress. Which is also why it's really important to have people to share with. Having people in some capacity, whether that's a Discord server, a club, or just a group of friends that share the same interest as you, they're gonna make game development infinitely easier. Some kind of community where you can show your projects, get feedback, bounce ideas, and ultimately just feel seen for your efforts. That's the stuff. It makes you realize that what you're doing isn't just you alone on an island. Being 100% self-motivated is very impressive. But I really do believe that there's a limit to how fulfilled you'll feel without connecting other people to the process somehow. Whether that's having people play your game when it's done or just brainstorming with.
So I tell you guys, man.
It's such a gift, so why not share it, you know? Not to get deep, but somehow every game development video that I do ends up that way. But anyway, if you don't have friends or a work or a school environment where you can share your stuff, RIP, there are sites out there like itch.io that let you publish your stuff for free. People can then see it, play it, interact with it, or even buy it if you want. You can also put art on there too, so it doesn't have to be finished games per se. They also host a lot of game jams through this site, so if you want to see the most confusing, overwhelming calendar that you will ever see in your life, you can check that out too. Game jams are basically when you have a small period of time, so like a few days, maybe one day, maybe a week, to make a game that's usually based on a theme. Those games are then judged, sometimes there's a winner and a prize, but it's a really good way to get practice once you kind of are past the hump of being able to make some small game on your own. If itch.io isn't your thing though, you also have the option of joining a game development Discord. Every major engine out there has their own Discord server, and they usually have like a help needed channel. So if you get stuck, you can always go there, or you can show off your stuff, and these are people that probably, hopefully care. There's also a lot of small servers out there that you can find with websites like Discord, and they're usually founded on building a community for game developers where you can make friends, get feedback, brainstorm, all that stuff. That's
Man,
what I'm trying to do with
I'm stressing.
Server, so if you do want to join that, it's in the description, I guess, or whatever.
So y'all, when
it's just stupid anyway. People need people, and the harder things get, the more people need people. So find your people. So that's basically everything you need to know to start making your own game. We talked about game engines, how to start coding, art, music, organization, community.
I think the video is about wrapped up. So thanks to her. Again, you should check out our YouTube channel. It's a Juniper Dev. And I do want to talk about that kind of ending she left us on. It. Man, I'm stressing. I would like the most to get started on doing projects like this when I'm hopefully past middle being a full-time YouTuber, if that's even possible, and getting monetized. So right now we're sitting at 500 something subscribers. when we hit around 1,000, we'll be able to get monetized, hopefully, and we'll keep moving on forward. And, you know, this isn't a topic that's going to die. You might not see me talk about game development for a while, or who knows, maybe you will, because I'm probably going to be focused on a lot of other content, guys. It's insane. It's insane. I wish I could just blab about it this whole time. But anyways, I really did enjoy watching her video on game development. She said a lot of really interesting things that I did not know. And hopefully you guys learned something. To subscribe if you haven't, to me or to her, whatever, just show some love. And I'd love to talk to you guys about this kind of stuff. Anyhow, have a fantastic day. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.